joining us today. My name is Deepshika and I represent Speakin. Thank you, both you, very, very legendary and highly experienced, the lady and the gentleman from the marketing and the branding side. Sweta, I would like to start with you introducing, though I'm sure both of you do not need any introduction, but I'll just do my small bit. Sweta, you are a seasoned marketer and believe in listen, learn and adapt approach to stay relevant. You are heading State Bank of India's marketing operations as their CMO. You bring with yourself 16 years of work experience, starting with marketing agencies to industries like aviation, payments and banking, and you've helped brands in identifying and delivering innovative business strategies for Indian as well as international clients. That is, you enjoy reading, listening to music, and are a fitness enthusiast. So we all need to learn from that and more in terms of your agility as a marketer. Rahul, a very warm welcome to you. Rahul Mishra, you head the marketing and communications at Shemaroo, a name we're all familiar with, pre-Netflix, pre-Amazon, and pre-Hotstar days. Rahul, you come with a vast experience where you've demonstrated strong leadership in helping brands excel as far as content is concerned, entertainment is concerned, media is concerned. Prior to Shemaroo, you were with BBC Global News, where you were the marketing manager for APAC. And you've experienced as a marketing head in the media and entertainment industry, marketing management, OTT marketing, digital strategy, content creation, and are a strong marketing professional from INSEAD. A very warm welcome, Rahul. We would love to hear a lot of what you've been doing in transitioning and taking a traditional business model to the OTT and a digital marketing framework. Let me start with Sweta. Sweta, your opening remarks on how is the marketing landscape changing and what do you see the future will be?
Thanks, Deepshika, for the lovely introduction. To start with, there's one very strong change which you've seen, especially when it comes to the BFS sector, is people regaining trust is very important right now. In this COVID situation, what we've seen, security though played a very strong role, but the trust factor, a legacy and a trust factor has added to it. So people have associated with the banks or with insurance or with payment companies where they face, yes, it has strong standing. It believed in purpose-driven marketing. It is somewhere I can gain and retain my trust with that brand. So that is what we're seeing coming back. A trust marketing is what is actually happening now. Beyond that, as we say, is more into leading with customer experience. Because it's not only BFSI, even telecom companies, customer service has taken a big hit because a lot of call centers were not functioning, a lot of stuff, people don't know how to complain or people were not sure how to follow up. So what we're seeing is a lot of customer service has moved online. There's a lot of digitization is happening rather than taking a call. What we're seeing is a lot of video calls is happening where you can see the person, interact with the person, and you can resolve all your problems. And the third thing which is actually picking up is the chatbot customer service, where you can not only, it will have minutes to resolve your queries through if a simplified chatbot is being in place. So these three things is what we're seeing actually picking up in BFS sector.
So, I mean, traditionally, Sweta, the marketing function as such is a very, very people-heavy function. Of course, you have analytics and you have, the digital interfaces now coming up, but you need to be there in front of your customers. You need to align with them in person. India is also a very touch and feel kind of a market. Even though you have the SBI, digital products, I've seen you've created those small kiosks where people can come and experience the touch technology and so on and so forth. How are you dealing with that change?
The thing is, what people believe, why people require trust, why people require touch and feel is because they want to gain trust. Yes, I've touched. That's the reason I know this is something which I can use. That is, if I get the same experience with them on a digital platform, rather than being a person there, there's a virtual manager there. There's a virtual person sitting there who's going to help you that. So still that trust is what you're reassuring them. That is the only reasons why digitization in the banking area is slowly picking up. it is slow process. It's not like an e-commerce company where you just come and buy, you see something and buy. Here the process is a little slow, but it is, yes, what you see, I would count from the demonetization process, then the post-COVID process. Yes, that trust factor on a digitization platform is picking up.
Excellent. Rahul, let me come to you now and seek your views. Have, from a content standpoint, media standpoint, we all have seen that, or are hearing, the massive bloodbath, as they say, in the media industry, particularly, because it is driven by advertisement and free content. How do you see that changing? I mean, do you still see, your opening remarks, and then my leading question would be about, the valuation of content and concentrating on quality and therefore being able to monetize that. What are you seeing, Rahul?
Okay. Thank you, Deepshika, for having me over today, firstly. I think it's a great discussion. We just started off, and it's going to be a great one through the 1 hour we have. And thanks, Sweta, for the the points you raised about trust. I think that's what's. So I'll break your question into two parts. I think first I'll talk about a slightly more broader frame of what's happening because of the lockdown, and then how does that impact the industry which I work in, which is the media and entertainment industry. And then I can talk about how do we sort of evaluate IPs and take it forward to the consumers now. So I think for me, I see we never imagined when we packed our bags in March to sort of go home and work from home that we will do this for so long. That's number one, and media industry overall is a very person interest, industry. It's a lot of creative work. It's a lot of, involvement of technology is there, but there's still a lot of, human interface required in the entire space. So we've been dabbling with a few things as an organization, as a sector, and as marketing, heads. I think I see four key sort of trends emerging. Overall, yes, as you mentioned, brands are sort of slashing the advertising spends. There are some categories which don't require marketing. Like why would a hotel advertise as much right now, or a travel company do it? Because unless they want to bring a long-term, very, very long-term brand building exercise, they would sort of refrain or stay minimal. Or companies who want to sort of save up. It's time of crisis. You got to go easy on your spends and save up as much as you can, and so that you pay off your debts and your staff and everything else. Second big thing I'm seeing right now is moving back to the basic communication. All you talk about is what you offer as a service and why you should trust me. I think that's sort of coming out very clearly now. People, brands don't sort of envelop the communication as much anymore. You got to go very, very, very direct, and that's a big change happening. How can a brand become a 4 a.m. friend for a customer? I think that's what everybody's trying to strive right now, because that's what customers need. They need somebody to reach out to when they need help, when they need support. So brands are playing that role. And I think sort of the third and fourth part are almost going together for me is, I think agility has become the key right now. So you can't really have a marketing plan set in stone and then you work towards that. What is the sort of technology you are using on your marketing plans to improvise on a very, very regular basis? How are you building your consumer journey online? As Sweta mentioned, people in the past need that touch. They need to meet somebody from the brand to establish that. But how can you build the same experience for a customer online? And that's what most brands are focusing on. So these are 3 or 4 things I'm sort of seeing a lot happening in the last 3 months. Coming back to the entertainment space. So so we have at Shemaroo we run multiple businesses, and OTT is one of them, where we actually run a platform called Shemaroo Me. Yes, during the lockdown, we've seen a sudden surge in subscribers coming to us, taking on whichever pack they like, starting from a Gujarati pack to a devotion pack to a Bollywood pack. There has been a huge surge of content happening in that space. But we know this is happening because of the lockdown phenomena. When people start leading their day-to-day lives, would they have so much time to invest in content? So as a marketer, my challenge here is, how do I retain those set of customers who've come to me? How do I ensure that I keep them engaged in the way they would want to be? That's what I'm sort of striving towards. Yes, the media industry has seen a slowdown across from let's take print, for example. We've seen the massive drop in print publications, which is extremely advertising led. There's a big drop there. There's a big drop in, your theatrical because of shutdown. And of course, the mainline, entertainment channels. So we launched the channel in the lockdown on 1st of May called Shemaroo TV. It's a Hindi general entertainment channel. Very interesting sort of thing we did. But overall, the pie is suffering because you can't create content right now because of the lockdown. So you end up showing a lot of repeat shows. And that's when a strength of curation comes. That's when this is your understanding of what consumers like. And fortunately for us at Shemaroo, we've been there for about 57 years. We've seen consumer trends across generations. So we're able to curate the right content, put it out. This is a stopgap arrangement. That's my personal view. It can't go on like this. Good content has to come out. Advertisers have to find that value in the content to advertise and reach to consumers. So that cycle will start again. But as of now, it's a lot of repeat content which is going out from our side as well.
So let me ask you a leading question, Rahul. While for Sweta, she'll have to battle a very different trend and very different circumstances where we all stand today. But for you, this is like a demonetization moment, right? I mean, this was like what demonetization was to Paytm. It is to you. I mean, you get to amplify your content so much. So what are you seeing at the back end? I mean, are you seeing consolidation? Are you seeing more aggregation happening? Different platforms coming together to say that, okay, fine, let's take whatever comes and let's just share the pie. Let's build it together. Or are you seeing any of that at the back end to bring the best and the most to the consumers?
Certainly. Actually, and it's happening. Just not limited to the media industry itself. There are partnerships being forged. For recently, I can give you an example from our company itself. We have a partnership with DocsApp, for example. So we have Shemaroo Me consumers get a DocsApp subscription free, and similarly DocsApp subscribers get a Shemaroo Me subscription. So there is a very, very good synergy there. At this point of time, consumers are looking at either entertainment or healthcare. So can we come together and make that offering, the best offering to the set of consumers? So that's happening on the media level itself, in the media ecosystem. Yes, there is a lot of partnerships which are taking place, starting from a lot of app-in-app integrations. For example, we work with a lot of telecom players where we offer our app within their ecosystem already to consumers. So that's happening. I'm sure you guys have read this as well. There's OTT content is now going to television as well, which never happened. So historically, it's been television content going on OTT, but now the reverse has started as well. So platforms which were creating content for OTT are now syndicating those content to broadcasters as well. So there is a lot of innovation happening on that front. I think the end objective is to get as many eyeballs as you can. It depends on the model you operate. If you're an advertising-led model, you've got to bring in the consumers, show the ratings, get an advertiser on board. If you're a subscription-based model, then you have to appeal to the right set of consumer. And that's become fairly easy now, right? Because you know who your customer is. You're not sort of broadcasting. You're actually targeting a set of consumer and talking to them. So you go with the right offer. So I may have 1,000 hours of content on my platform, but I will actually communicate that 1 hour to the right customer and convert them in. And that's what we are all exploiting to the fullest. It's not the best time to do it, but that's how the business is operating.
Excellent. We'll talk more about that, Rahul, shortly. Sweta, you're very, as we spoke about that. You said that very touch and feel, the trust, and with your efforts and years of experience, you've created definitely a product which is very, very trustworthy. In fact, one of the most trustworthy brands in the BFSI space, not just in India but in the region. So how are you capitalizing on that? And second is, how are you engaging your customers? Is there any orientation towards acquiring new customers during this time also, or is it only about sustain and service and let's get through this and we will see?
Deepshika, I'll answer this in two parts. One, how are we capitalizing the brand value? Yes, you rightly said that whether it's India or whether it's outside India internationally, we capitalizing on the Indianness is what our feel is, because we believe is service and transparency, what stands with SBI. And when it comes to service, we are ready to go beyond the banking doors. And this we've already proved during the COVID that we have actually gone beyond banking. And there have been cases where my frontline staff has reached the interiors on a cycle or have reached to tribal areas on a laptop to the banking laptop so that the money reaches them on time. So there has been cases where actually bank has gone beyond banking as proof that SBI, it's not only saying service, it stands with its true words, values, what we speak of.
Correct.
Second, when we, the second part when it says of acquiring and acquisition, yes, acquiring as a banking will always continue. It doesn't see a stop. Yes, if I can acquire customer through a lending portfolio, I'll try and see if I can acquire through our savings account, I'll acquire customer through current accounts. On today's time, digital payments is growing very big. So can I lock in a customer on a digital payments platform? So the versatility of a different portfolios is what's going to help me to grow my customer base. Secondly, my cross-sell and upsell is the method I'm using for retention of my existing customers.
Right.
Because as I rightly said, trust is already regained. Trust we already live with. So how I can expand my services to a better, providing a better customer experience is what we're working towards in maximizing my existing customers.
Certainly. Are you seeing differences from a country perspective? Are you seeing a state level difference? How are you seeing the behavior of consumers change within the country?
Yes. Now, if I put it up with certain experience which I've seen from a payments background, if I divide the Indian into 4 zones, South is a very predominant digital marketing. I'm sure even Rahul will stress on this point when it comes on the digital content consumption. South is a very high one who can experiment. They are one who look forward when it comes to using of digital platforms. But when I move towards the north side, they are still more into a cash dominance. They prefer liquid money in their hands is what they deal with. West is still a mix between the metropolitan and urban and non-urban areas. There's a mix of digital and I would say a 50-50 mix between the digital and the non-digital areas. East is still more into storytelling areas. So they prefer more of a liquid cash in hand.
Okay,
so,
interesting.
So if I have to put all this behavior together and put in a banking domain, so whatever we do in terms of a lending portfolio or something, a digital thing, first we target my South market. And then we take a learning from there, move to West and North simultaneously.
So within South, that's a very interesting point, Sweta. Within South itself, which are the cities that you see the most traction in? Is it the urban, which is the Chennai, the Coimbatore, Trichy, Bangalore, Hyderabad, or you see that across other tier 2 cities as well?
I think it's depends on the product portfolio. Now, suppose I'm talking about a premium portfolio, a premium debit card, or a premium, maybe a UPI payments and all. So I'll definitely see more traction coming from metro cities. But if I'm talking about my agri products, or if I'm talking about my gold loan products, which is a mix from metro plus rural areas. So it's a mix. It depends on the product portfolio. It's a mix of what we come from.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting point. So Rahul, what are you seeing in terms of segmentation of customers and how is that behavior changing or differentiated? Or are you, how do you segment your customers for content consumption? Apart from the language, of course.
Yeah, sure. I think that's probably the toughest question, Deepshika, because the entire consumer journey, how they've sort of looked at entertainment, access to certain app, how they've paid, what they've consumed, has changed quite a bit. We've seen that change happening. So thanks to this is I'm talking about from an OTT perspective, because we get enough data to understand what every customer is doing, what sort of content the customer is trying to watch, and then we create cohorts which we use to then further remarket to them and subscriptions, etc. I think those are evolving so quickly for us as well as a brand that we are not able to keep in pace as to what was pre-COVID cohorts. They don't sort of they're not valid anymore. A lot of I can give you examples from our some of the data points we had. Uh, so on Shemaroo Me, we give an option for the consumer to choose a particular pack as per the content they want to watch. So if you want to watch classic, Bollywood classic, you subscribe to that pack itself. Some of our data now shows that a lot of pack access is by younger generation people happening for Bollywood classic content. Now that wasn't the case before lockdown. That has changed. We're seeing uptake in our regional content is seeing a huge amount of uptake, be it Gujarati, Marathi, Punjabi. A lot of consumption is happening there, and it may not necessarily emerge from that feeder market. It could be Gujaratis living outside of Gujarat who are kind of coming in, which in the past were primarily the market we would target to. So there is a huge amount of shift in consumer preferences. What we're seeing right now. Have we sort of, so I don't have a clear indication as to where it's going to head, what will be the new consumer personas or triggers, but we are working towards that as a company right now, and as a marketer I'm very keen to know where it goes actually. So
very interesting, you spoke about the vernacular part. Rahul, are you seeing a change in, when you say the uptake in consumption of regional content, is it for lack of better options, or is it because people want to align themselves? And the third dimension could also be that, the greater proliferation of content in the tier 2 and tier 3 markets, which are of course, more local language driven. So what do you think have been the trends there?
Yeah, so as Shemaroo Me as an app, we are essentially a very massy Indian app. We are, think of us as an opposite of Netflix. We are like a more massy tier 2, tier 3 focused content company. So a couple of reasons actually took on, led to the surge of, consumption in the regional bucket. One is, when your feeders for most of this market is television right now. And when television stops offering you newer content, there was a huge demand, which, OTT apps like us sort of came in and filled in by offering content people had not seen before on television, right? These are movies, plays, web series, etc., which are not available on TV. Second is when the lockdown happened, the amount of content they were consuming per day increased drastically as well. So it wasn't just one piece of content which would fulfill my requirements. I needed something for my father, something for my mother, something for myself as well now. So people started looking at content into various buckets within the households as well. So they started looking at where else can I get more content from. Third is, I think it's partly the entire digital revolution which is taking place, and people sort of trying to now get into the internet to sample with more and more things, started to explore a subscription-based platform slowly, which is a trend we expected to happen in India, but happened much quicker for this lockdown.
Okay. Excellent. So Sweta, coming back to you, I mean, you spoke beautifully about, the United States of India, as we call it. And so what are the changes that you seem to be developing? Do you also have a vernacular? That's an interesting point that Rahul brought about. Do you also have a vernacular driven campaigns, and to what extent? What are the languages that work? Is English the de facto language? Tell us something about that fabric of your customers all over India.
I think Deepshika touched a very nice point here, because as an SBI, any campaign which goes out or any marketing activity we do is done in 13 languages.
Wow.
So we reach out in 13 languages. We ensure that we touch every hook and corner of the country. We don't miss out. There could we could miss out 1 and 2, but it depends on the campaign to campaign. If it's a need requirement comes in, so I already have a local team present. So we fulfill all the requirements on the local team itself. So we try to cover the maximum reach, whatever we can. My de facto language we normally prefer is English, not even English, not even Hindi, but we prefer English. So that is what we connect with the younger audience today in the country. And from there we dwell further is on different different likes, what they prefer. Except digital is where we are doing as of now only English. We're maintaining English and digital, but slowly we also entering in regional tones, even in digital channels. So we could be soon seeing all our digital campaigns also in vernacular languages.
Wow, so that's a massive opportunity coming in, perhaps for Shemaroo and the SBI to patch up and then reach the masses together. So, so Rahul, let me come back to you and talk about the entire OTT journey. You also talk about the theatrical experiences and concepts like Book My Show, the real life experiences or the offline events, as they say, are going to be out. How big a role do such events play in a media and for a media and entertainment company? And how will you see those changes impacting? How much of that will be permanent? How much do you think will just be transitory? You talked about that. People have time right now, and therefore they're consuming content. Once their offices open, they may not, and then the patterns would change. So tell us something about your crystal ball and how the future looks like.
Yeah, Deepshika, I think you've kept the toughest questions for me, but let me try and answer that. Okay, so what has been affected the most in the media and entertainment business post the lockdown is one is media businesses which were entirely advertising led. I think they are the first ones to be suffered most, and we've seen that across from television to print, etc. And second is I think the experience-led media companies, which is essentially a lot about Bollywood and films, right? Let's take films. Let's not call it Bollywood. It's all the film industry overall. So films, they make their maximum revenue through theatrical. Okay, so films can choose to go and offer their content to an OTT player or a television channel, but theatrical still is the primary driver for films right now in India. So while we've seen a few films being released directly, but it's not happening on a large scale right now. So there is a very, very strong hope that theatrical will start soon again. My crystal ball tells me it will, because let's look at what happened after 9/11. People stopped traveling for a bit, but we've all forgotten about that. We travel pretty much. We used to before COVID. So theatrical will come back, and that sort of will come and stabilize. The other part is the advertising piece, which most media companies depend on to create content and reach out to more and more people. I think that itself has to come back as well. The recovery period could be slightly longer, but I don't think we will see less content being created. We will not see all that happening. I think we will see probably when the people's consumption habits have changed so much. We might probably there will be demand for more and more content coming up in the future, and that's what we have to sort of surge into. So Bollywood and the film industries will see a comeback, and hopefully theatrical will be back in a couple of months to help these companies make out. And so the ancillary companies who work around with Bollywood obviously are suffering. They're trying to innovate. They're trying to sort of be in touch with the consumers through live events, online gigs, etc. I think that'll also see its light in a couple of months, is what my prediction is.
Great. So, Sweta, we are getting closer to the time before we start taking questions. I can see that the questions have also started coming in now. Your closing comments about the trend that you see for the mass market, also given that you see a lot of migration has taken place. I don't know if it is transitory or it's what part of it would be permanent, but that surely will impact the consumption patterns, particularly at the branch, may not be at the digital level. So your closing comments in terms of the trends that you see, Sweta.
See, the trends, what from my perspective, what you are seeing is more of a conversational marketing, which is driven by an insight-based and real-time. Because what consumers lives in the moment, and especially when we've seen this among the Indians, they are the ones who lives in the moment. No one wants to plan for the future, and no one wants to live in the past. So they're living in the moment. So pandemic has completely changed our view towards life. So everyone, especially if we're talking about the youth of today or the millennials, what we so call them, or we talk to the middle gen, all wants to live in the moment, because we don't know tomorrow is uncertain. Tomorrow is going to be changed. So live in the moment, and that is what a trend is, what we're seeing. So you want everything in the moment. If I'm browsing today something, I want the offer at that particular moment for that particular time, not for the future planning. That is a big change which is we are going to see among the marketers going to happen. That how we can make it relevant using AI, which can predict our behaviors and plan for the real-time consumption of the activities. That is one trend. Second, what we're going to change is a lot of change would happen in the customer experience rather than customer service perspective. That is where we're going to change again, see a big shift happening. Is how people are going to interact with each other digitally or in virtual space. That is what we are foreseeing coming in.
Fantastic. So that's the first question coming in for you, Sweta. Our audience asks, SBI already has a high level of trust established. And as you pointed out repeatedly, how do you ensure that does not get lost with virtual banking tools? I mean, we're hearing about cyber attacks. Today also, I think in India also, there was an advisory which was issued. And when you deal with masses, of course, your audiences tend to be a little more vulnerable, a little more gullible in that sense. So how do you manage that part of the communication?
See, basically what we are ensuring is the security. Our entire thing is highly secure in encrypted form. So there are a lot of elements of what we do is not even linked. We don't have, like we said, and suppose for example, if you're doing a simple email marketing, we are removing all the links so that it come in, so that we are not able to backtrack a lot of things. So ensuring the security of the customers is sealed and is complete in encrypted format. That is one thing. And how we're regaining trust in the virtual spaces, what we're trying to do is we're trying to read the customer behavior as and when the customer interact with us, which is much more than a customer visiting a branch. Because when a customer visits a branch, it's for a limited period or for some moments is what we can interact. Here I have of time for them, which is beyond few minutes, and I can understand not only their behavioral trends, but also the psychographic trends. Basis that which will help me to improvise not only my products, but also what are the solutions I can offer them. So this is how this is going to help me to regain my trust again and again.
Fantastic point. So I mean, psychographics coming in and utilizing data. Excellent point, Shweta. Thank you. So I'm sure the audience are feeling more secure now, and even those who will hear us. Another question coming in, and Rahul, I can't help it. You keep getting the difficult ones. Nowadays, people are generally consuming content on OTTs. It is just about what is more visible as compared to times when audiences had to be pulled into cinemas. How does that change things for marketers?
So the question is, how is marketing different on OTT as compared to a cinema?
Yes, that could be one way of looking at the question, right? It's a complicated.
Well, actually, it's not. To be honest, it's not difficult. It's the same actually. If you ask me, again goes back to what role is entertainment playing in a consumer's life. Let's put it that way. And what sort of value do I bring in, and what sort of content do I want to consume when I go to a cinema? So if I can understand the consumer, how am I helping them, and what sort of preference do they have? I think the marketing overall piece remains the same. Yes, obviously for an OTT player, you have a lot more, it's more advantages right now because everything is happening online. Okay, so even consumers are online, they're not anywhere else right now. So for us to, I think two screens which are being viewed the most are either the mobile or your television, right? So we can reach out to consumers in a much better way, in a much segmented way, and convert them into our sort of our loyal consumers or audiences. And the basic principles for me, I don't think it changes. We'll have the same set of competition when it comes to the theatrical. The same set of competition remains in OTT. The consumer makes a choice in the end of the day between what he wants to watch and not watch.
Perfect. So one more question coming in, and from Ritesh Mamodia. Ritesh asks, we are a startup, and I think it talks about collaboration, as I think we talked about some time ago, and Rahul, you kind of alluded to it. We are a startup and we want to collaborate with brands for collaboration of partnerships. What is the way and to whom should we connect? For example, in case of Shemaroo, SBI, and some of the other content platforms.
Shweta, you want to go for that first?
I think Rahul, you can go ahead with this.
Rahul, you get the difficult ones. You can't skip it.
No, it's not difficult. I think it's a fair point. You know, I really do value brands who are actually doing the right partnerships at this stage. You know, it's not an easy time for any brand. Let's face it. You know, most brands are under a lot of stress because of either you know, drop in revenues or, you know, at certain times, etc. I think partnerships are a great way for you know, brands to make consumers' life better. If that is the objective, you know, how are you going to be? What benefit do you bring to a consumer by joining together? If that's cracked well, then I think partnerships are a way to go. And, you know, I'm more than happy doing partnerships with multiple such brands, and I've been doing that. You know, as not me, just Shemaroo as an organization, we believe in that strongly. So, so to answer your question, you know, you might want to just reach out to me, and I will, you know, surely suggest you what the model of partnership could be. If I'm not the right fit for a partnership, I could probably suggest which brands you can reach out to make consumers' lives better.
Great. So there you have a very, very welcoming leader for you to guide you further. Shweta, I have another question coming in on this. You talked about lending, particularly lending patterns, you know, when we were talking about the differences in the North and South. Since spending and consumption is going to go down, has gone down, and perhaps will be impacted for a while now, how are you planning the marketing strategy for your lending tools like credit cards or loans or some of the other products?
What is happening is we are not looking to large size lending, which is more of a home loans area, which we are staggered, and we are triggering to more of a recall brand strategy there rather than just pushing a product out. But we are getting into, which is a very need-based things, which is a pre-approved loan or a gold loan, which is need of the market, which is the need of the demand. So if you already have an existing loan and you want to have an overdraft facility on that, or you want to have a top up on that, or you want a pre-approved personal loans on this area, that is what is actually picking up. Second trend, which we have done a global study and we realize the second trend in lending we would pick up is the auto loans. A big time you can see an auto loan once the COVID ease out, because this is what we have seen in China market. It's also we have seen in the Europe market that automobile sales are touching the sky post-COVID, because everyone's running for a personal vehicle now. So that is what we're anticipating in the auto area, and looking forward, auto loans may pick up soon.
So another question that comes in for you, Shweta, is what about microfinancing? You know, we were talking to Professor Mohammed Yunus sometime back, and we were talking about the Grameen Bank and how the microcredit would change. You are into Masters, I mean, one of the most penetrated banks. How are you starting changes there in terms of communicating, in terms of brand, or you know, sustaining itself, or building further capabilities there?
In that area, we are in the process of developing something. It's already with the business units who are working on this area and developing some products on that lines, because microfinancing is also, if you read certain articles also in the past, which has come from SBI, there have been microfinances being the key focus starting this year, especially when we're catering to the unserved segment, which is unbanked population, or we're talking about the unorganized retailers. There is some very large scope sitting there, and that is what we are working towards that. But yes, it will take some time because it's under development stage right now.
Sure, perfect. So great. I think I would like to close with, Shweta, your remarks where you talked about, you know, it is about being relevant and sustaining yourself at this time rather than pushing for a bigger this, and also about marrying, as Rahul was mentioning, that, you know, marrying the current needs of the society and your consumers at large, and then taking the product forward. Both of you are running phenomenal product portfolios. You have phenomenal experiences behind you, backing your decisions. I wish you both the very best and have a phenomenal leadership journey ahead of you. Thank you very much for being here with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shweta. Thank you, Rahul. Lovely having you. Thank you, audiences.